These are my Chapter 9 test corrections. The first question I got wrong is number 5, and it was to describe the combined variation that is modeled by the formula or equation. And the formula was y is equal to w over 2x squared. So on the test I wrote y varies directly with w and inversely with 2 and the square of x, when all I needed to write is y varies directly with x and inversely with the square of 2. The next question is number 6, and well, 6 and 7 both is the graphs on the test, 6 and 7, and I didn't know that we had to write the equations, and so the equations would be the of the asymptotes, and for number 6, the asymptotes were x is equal to -2 and y is equal to 0. And for number 7, they were x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 3. Then question number 8 was to find any points of discontinuity and state whether they are vertical asymptotes or holes. So for the first, I just didn't really know how to find holes and asymptotes very well. But first of all, for number 8, I got the hole at 0 right. Because you have to break it down into this. You have to like factor. So then you have this x, which is x like minus or plus 0, which is equal to 0. So that's your hole because the two x's are matching. Then for the vertical asymptote, you would take like the factored, like the binomials, and so you have x minus 5, and so you'd set that equal to 0 to get x is equal to 5. So the vertical asymptote is x is equal to 5. Then number 9, I didn't realize that you could factor the top portion 4x squared minus 9, but you can to 2x plus 3 and 2x minus 3, and then that's over x minus 7, which is to times 2x plus 3. So 2x plus 3, they're like alike terms, and so you would set 2x plus 3 is equal to 0, and then when you figure that out, then you have x is equal to -3/2, which would be equal to a whole because it's the same on the top and bottom. So that's your whole. And then for the vertical asymptote, you would take x minus 7 and set it equal to 0 to get x is equal to 7. So that's your whole and vertical asymptote. Then for question 10, it was similar except I had to state the horizontal asymptotes. And for number 10, I was right. I put x is equal to 0 instead of y is equal to 0. But basically what it is you have to look at the degrees, and they're not matching, so the vertical would be x is equal to 2, but since they don't match, it's y is equal to 0. Question number 11, same kind of problem. You have the x squared are like terms, and so then you have 6x and 2x squared, and so you have 6 over 2 is equal to 3, so you have your horizontal asymptote as y is equal to 3. Then question number 12, I just forgot to add in some restrictions because for 13, 14, and 12, 13, and 14, I just had troubles finding restrictions because I didn't remember how. But so for number 12, I simplified it correctly to x is equal to 2 times the quantity of x minus 7 from the original. So then you want to take the original, which is the bottom, and factor it out to get 2 times the quantity of x plus 2 times the quantity of x minus 7. And so when you get that, you have this quantity and this quantity, set them both equal to 0 to get x is equal to -2 and x is equal to 7, because you have to start with the original denominator And then so those are what x cannot be. So those are your restrictions. X cannot equal to 7 and x cannot equal to -2. 13, similar situation. I just didn't know how to find the restrictions, but so you take the original denominators and you set them equal to 0. So you have 12x is equal to 0, so x is equal to 0. So x cannot equal to 0. Then x squared minus x minus 6, you factor out and you get x minus 3 times the quantity of x plus 2. So you set them equal to 0. X cannot equal to 3 and x cannot equal to -2. Then question number 14, I accidentally, at the beginning when I factored from 5x squared plus 10x, when I took 5x out of both, I left this at 5 instead of 2 for some reason, so that just messed up my simplifying. But then when I set that to 2, then I had more common like binomials, and so then I could cross them out to get 5x over 15x after factoring through all these, and then so that's equal to 1 over 3x. Then the restrictions, you just have to go back to the first denominators, except since it's dividing, you want to do this bottom and then this top because you cross multiply. So this would be like the new denominator. So I had this as the x minus 3 and x plus 2, so it cannot equal to x, or x cannot equal to -2 and x cannot equal to -3. Then over here you have 15x is equal to 0, so x cannot equal to 0, and x plus 3, so x cannot equal to -3. Then number 15, I simplified wrong, and so what I just need to do is right after I distributed these, I just crossed them out because I hadn't distributed them out yet, but I just had to find a common denominator because you had to subtract. So when you factored these out, you had 2 terms, and then you just multiplied it by the term that they weren't alike in. And then you distribute this out to get 5x plus 15 minus 4x plus 16 over the quantity, which is equal to x minus 1. So x minus 1 over the quantity of x plus 4 times the quantity of x minus 3 times the quantity of x plus 3. Then, for number 17, I accidentally forgot to add 10 at the end after, because you had to find the common denominator. So you multiply it all by that, but then they cancel out here, so you have 5x is equal to 7x minus 14, and then I just forgot to add the 10x. So once I did that, you have -2x is equal to -4 over -2, x is equal to 2. Number 19, I accidentally multiplied all of them by the top and bottom amount, when all I needed to do was just multiply by the bottom. And then when I multiplied that out, I didn't get such big numbers, so you just multiply by these, and you multiply every single one of them. And then, so you had 6y cubed minus 16y cubed over 8y cubed plus 12y cubed is equal to -10y cubed over 20y cubed. Then that is equal to -1 over 2y cubed, which is your answer. Then the last one is number 21, and the question was, one pump fills a tank 4 times as fast as another pump. If the pumps work together, they fill the tank in 28 minutes. How long does it take for each pump to fill the tank? You have to set up a proportion, so 1 tank is x over x plus 1 tank over 4x, and then that's equal to 1 tank over 28 minutes times each side by 28. To get 28x plus 112x is equal to 140x, which is equal to 140 minutes for pump 2, and then you divide that by 4 to get 35, so the pump 1 takes 35 minutes. So that is the answer. These are my test chapter 9 corrections.